Oh, who are the actual gatekeepers, especially in today's age? Who are the actual people who can, let's just say, control the basket of goodies and also at the same time control the actual relationship direction in today's society?
Okay.
You wanted to say something about, can you remind me what it was about?
Oh,
Yeah.
women are gatekeepers.
Women are gatekeepers.
Yes.
What did you want to say about that?
Well, I wanted to say that I think Andrew Tate does a disservice to men in a lot of ways. And specifically in the regard to when he mentioned that women tend to be the gatekeepers. I mean, whether or not you want to see that as the reality, I don't think it's fair for men to say that all the responsibility and the control is in the hands of women. I just don't think it's fair.
Well,
I think
practically speaking, women are the gatekeepers of sex.
of sex. I don't think women are the gatekeepers of relationships, as Andrew Tate was referencing.
No, but
of
he
that
was
sentiment.
talking about sex.
He was also talking about his.
Super
hold on.
chatted $50. Let's make it more in regards to single women, says the one that's trying to argue higher body count is better for relationships.
I don't
That
think
this right here was going to be the last part on this video. However, something else recently came up, which is going to prompt me to make one more video that's probably going to come out on Sunday to go along with the Death of ESPN video. So make sure you guys stick around for that one too. But before we get into this, let's go over what we talked about. We did a video earlier asking the question about whether body count matters. We also did a follow-up video this afternoon, which I'll link in the description box, on why it does matter, especially in today's sexual marketplace, especially when it comes to men, because let's be honest, we don't want to just be screwing around with what the hell's been screwing around with everything. But then again, though, we'll get to that a little bit more in this video here as well. We also talked about hoflation, and we also covered a couple other things in a couple other videos, and we even talked a little about the red pill. Now, after the next video on this topic, we're probably not going to touch this thing for a while. I just want to kind of get my thoughts out there while I can, because I did, in fact, want to do these types of videos before. And this where it also kind of feeds into the whole incoming crisis that we're going to have with men here in the near future, especially given the fact that 60% of young men age 18 to 24 and another very, very large percentage of men are not exactly in relationships. Meanwhile, a lot of women, of course, it's actually the inverse. They're dating the very, very top 30% of men, in some cases the top 1%. And I also talked about how it was that women's standards nowadays may be a little bit too delusional. However, I also said that I think that is mostly social media driven more than anything else. But then again, though, once again, here we are. So who are the actual gatekeepers of relationships? And that also includes sex. So I went back to the Whatever podcast, which, by the way, I was listening to it pretty much all week because I was kind of behind on things. And, of course, this is where I kind of looked at certain things. Of course, I looked at some fresh and fit stuff and a lot of other podcasts as well, because obviously I've listened to this stuff. And to go on top of this, I've actually been in the field. I mean, I'm pretty sure most people have actually been out, been on dates, been in relationships, had some worked out. Some, of course, people are married, whatnot, may have a little bit better insight, but still at the same time, that's about actually staying in a relationship. However, in today's age, people have got to up their gala. They've also got to up their game. Now, me, I'm not a PUA channel, but I'm just simply throwing some additional things out here to kind of see if maybe men might make better decisions going forward. If you ask a man who the gatekeeper is, he'll tell you that definitely the lady is the gatekeeper here. I mean, let's just go ahead and get this out of the way. This phrase has stuck with me my entire life. It is 100% true. And I'm going to try to avoid the very, very bad language here, but I'm just going to go ahead and say this. She's got half the money and all the that's all I'm going to say right there to avoid the community guidelines thing. Not to mention the fact that one of the people we were talking about earlier, Candace Owens, she just got suspended off of YouTube for some crazy stuff. But still, at the same time, though, we got to keep things relatively clean. So that phrase has always stuck with me. It's always been there my entire life. And, of course, you might think to yourself that that right there alone tells you that that person is obviously in charge. Now, I want to go ahead and get this out of the way. You cannot walk up to a woman and you cannot just outright ask for sex or a relationship. You can't just walk up to them and say, I like you, and that there's the way things go. That's not how the world operates. You got to have some conversation. You got to develop some skills, this, that, and the other. By the way, I'm not endorsing. I'm just telling you the way it is. However, we've got this thing going on nowadays where women, of course, are now saying that men are actually the gatekeepers. Now, I want to play this for you. This part is kind of a rehash from a previous video to kind of show you the hypergamy chart, and you may think for a second there that maybe the inverse is going on here. I'll be back on the other side. Just a couple of seconds.
Let's define the adult
top men and the top women. So would it be fair to say that the top men are the richest, most successful men for the most part? Can we say that?
Yeah.
And that the top women are the most beautiful women in the world?
One might think that the very, very top percentage of men are actually getting all the women. However, women have perceived these men to have a lot more money than they do. However, I also broke down in other videos that the actual average income of men, most men, I'd say about 90% of men as a whole, this is their actual average income between $37,000 and $45,000 a year when you actually look at the actual figures. So right then and there, you might be saying to yourself, well, maybe the women are actually the gatekeepers, meaning that they're actually the gatekeepers to the other 90%, which I think is the number that matters because let's be honest, the vast majority of men don't make 6 to 7 figures a year. Let's just go ahead and put that out there. So right then and there, you might think that, the ladies are definitely the gatekeepers in this situation. And of course, you do have somebody out there who does have a bit of a disagreement, but not exactly what I call a disagreement in a negative way, but actually pretty insightful. I'm going to go ahead and play this for you. Make sure you guys listen to the full 2 minutes. We'll come back on the other side.
I just think we should back up, and that in the context that Tate was saying, he was explaining how connection is more important than sex in his mind, which that's a fantastic sentiment. So in regard to relationships and connection, he also declared that the women are the gatekeepers.
Yes, and you disagree with that?
It's not necessarily that I disagree with it. I just don't think it's fair to put the responsibility in women's hands in general. I think that essentially lessens the power of men. I think that says, that's why I say I think it's a disservice to men. I think the connotations behind what he's saying is that men don't have power over their relationships, that women may have power over sex, but if you've already got that connection, he's putting the responsibility in a woman's hands and saying women are the gatekeepers, they make the decisions. And I just don't think that's fair to men. I think men are deserving of power, and I think that sentiment essentially is removing power from men.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So as far as the relationship thing goes, I think a lot of men don't have much power in relationships, but he's talking strictly about sex. Women are the gatekeepers of sex. So let's remove relationship from this. Strictly speaking about sex, women are the gatekeepers.
Well, I would say that is currently, generally speaking, an unfortunate reality. But I think that sentiment also is to say that men are easy, and I don't think that's fair to say that men are easy, whether you think it's true or not.
I think it's
but isn't that insulting to you? Isn't that insulting to men? That's my point.
Reality is not insulting to me. Truth is not.
Okay,
I mean,
right.
and I think it happens to be the case that men are
generally speaking an unfortunate reality. But I think that sentiment also is to say that men are easy, and I don't think that's fair.
Something else too. I haven't even brought up dating apps yet, which I originally wanted to kind of lean in with that, but then again, at the same time, because I personally don't use them, I got to tell you right now that this guy right here makes an extremely good point with this.
Dating apps, it's purely physical, and the data has been out there for years now. Women swipe on like less than 10% of guys. Women are all chasing after the same 10% of men on dating apps. Women already did that before dating apps, like hypergamy, women would be chasing after the best guys at college, the best guys here, the best guys there. But now with digital, now with Instagram, now with dating apps, it's like hyper insane. So basically you have a much higher proportion of men who are getting zeroed out, who have no options, who are just like normal average dudes. Some of them between say normal average to like even good looking dudes are getting zeroed out because they're all chasing after these top percentage of men.
Yes.
So for that reason, it's really not men's fault, I think.
Okay.
You gotta wonder if the whole entire thing is nothing more than physical. You see a picture online, you automatically assume that this person right here is hot. And of course, the ladies are the ones that actually get to make the choice here, especially if the income is not there. And by the way, I don't think you should be putting your income on anything, which by the way, I've also heard people say, well, you should, so that way people get an idea of exactly how much money you make because they give you an actual rough figure. Okay, but the thing is this right here, money is not supposed to be the thing. Now, obviously, you obviously want to go ahead and make it outright that it is, in fact, important that you do need money to maintain relationships. But still, at the same time, though, if the higher the amount of number that the person has up there, if that right there gives them automatically more status, it kind of feeds into what we're saying about them really just wanting money in the very, very top 1%. I mean, at the end of the day, it seems to me like ladies are getting kind of a negative perception or getting the wrong perception of what relationships are. It's kind of like what Greg Foreman said in the previous video. I actually echoed this in another video, that podcasts like, say, the Fresh and Fit, for example, they're giving men the wrong idea as well as women, because they're only using quote-unquote OnlyFans girls and 304s. Not every single girl is an OnlyFans girl. Like I said before, I actually prefer the Whatever podcast a little bit better because they actually mix it up a little bit. Something else, too, if you're a woman and you just have, like, okay, well, he obviously takes care of himself money-wise and this, that, and the other. Yeah, maybe we can hear, for all you know, old boy could just straight be BSing you. Same thing with a girl. For all you know, she could be straight up BSing you. It's another reason why it is I don't trust dating apps, but back on topic. The topic, of course, is gatekeeping, and that right there alone kind of hammers down the theory that, yeah, for the most part, ladies are, in fact, the gatekeepers here. I went back and looked at some of Andrew Tate's stuff, and he's actually not lying. He was discussing that women practically hold the keys on just about everything. Now, let me go ahead and say this really quick before we get to another example, which I brought up in the previous video, which, by the way, I'm going to use here in a second. Here's the deal. You have to, more likely than not, you have to actually ask the woman out. Not very often do women come up to you and ask you out. That right there is not always the case. About 90% of the time, you got to ask them out. Of course, that right there is, in a lot of ways, that right there is the men having to actually chase the ladies. Now, women, of course, are nowadays a little bit more aggressive. And of course, with the online world, you have Instagram, you have Facebook, social media as a whole. You might think it's a little bit easier for men, when in reality, it's just easier for women. Fact of the matter is, women got a lot more control in this entire situation than anybody else. And let's also not think about the actual relationship itself. Now, I know I'm veering a little bit off topic here, but in most divorces, women do, in fact, actually initiate the divorce case. They also, at the exact same time, also end up with custody of the kids more often than anything else. And if a man does not protect his assets enough, she could also end up with a good portion of his assets as well. I mean, I would do a full course video on that, but I'll leave the links in the description box, and we'll probably do a bigger video essay on that one day at one time next year, because obviously I'm not going anywhere. And as I said before, I'm obviously going to be sliding more into essay type content. I don't know if you guys noticed it or not, but I'm not really doing anything trending. However, there is one video tomorrow I'll be releasing that is somewhat trending. But here's the thing. The fact of the matter is, women are, for the most part, the gatekeepers. You can't walk up and just automatically just start screwing. Okay, next thing you know, you're going to be in handcuffs, you're going to jail. You have to, in some roundabout way, get some form of permission before you do anything. Of course, you got to ask them out, you got to get permission to meet up. That's not a guarantee it's going to work out. And even though women in a lot of cases nowadays have become a little bit more aggressive, as you will see here in a second, fact of the matter is they're the ones who actually make the ultimate decision whether to go forward with you. I'm pretty sure the vast majority of you who are actually married, who watch my content, probably had to date your wife. I say you probably had to go out with at least 2 or 3 times, maybe 3 or 4 times. Maybe you were forced to, maybe you knew right away that you wanted to marry her. Fact of the matter is that you actually got to date. And of course, if a man slips up, of course, he's more than likely gone. But I'm going to go ahead and say this right now. And this right here is not going to be a very popular thing to say. And it's probably going to get me in trouble, but I feel like I need to, because you guys know me. I'm always honest with you, even if it does hit me in the algorithm. A man who cheats on a woman, if he has got no money at all, she's ditching him. Or if he's got very, very low money, she's ditching him. If he's got money and she don't have money, yeah, chances are she's more inclined to let him come back. These are what we call special cases, the exception to the rule. If a woman cheats on a man, and of course that woman's got more money than the man, he may think about keeping her around. The same thing's vice versa. Like I said, it's not a popular thing to say, but it is in fact something that occurs. Now, me personally, if I have a lady cheat on me, my rule is very, very simple. Kick her out. You're done. Marriage is over. Especially if she had been running around with said person for a long period of time, that's pretty obvious to me that she obviously had more feelings for him than she obviously did for me. Why in the world would you want to take this lady back after she done humiliated you, after she did everything she could to actually hurt you? And also at the same time, even during the divorce hearing, while, by the way, she does not, by the way, that marriage is obviously over with, she may be vindictive enough to come back and try to get your money and get the kids or anything. I think infidelity is something that right off the bat should lose you any possibility of ever having sole custody. Also, how do I say this? It should also at the exact same time eliminate child support, and at the same time it should also eliminate alimony. By the way, I want to go ahead and make this right here perfectly clear if I've not made this clear in other videos, because I feel like I have to, because like I said, I always go out of my way to be honest with my subscribers and my audience. I am a product of divorce, so child support is not something that I'm overtly against. However, I am against excessive amounts because, let's be honest, we have a lot of people out there nowadays that will actually take the child support and actually abuse it. I was fortunate enough to have two parents that, while the marriage did not work out, they still had good heads on their shoulders and still were actual good people. Marriage just didn't work out. My mother, quite frankly, was a very good mother, and my father, even though he was going through some things, he, quite frankly, was a very, very good father. He always remained one and remained a good man to the day he died. Fact of the matter is, not everybody has the exact same situation. We have couples out there nowadays who get divorced, they split up, and next thing you know, the girl is out there, she's got 2 or 3 kids, and she's spending all that child support money on wherever the hell is hip and wherever the hell is new. I mean, electronics and crap that, quite frankly, the kids are never going to have, and you've also got ladies out there who demand that a man pay for their kids' food on the first date. Very, very strange world we live in. People just don't know how to act. But then again, at the same time, though, the question does remain, who the hell is the actual gatekeeper in this situation? Well, seeing how it is that ladies are always typically the ones that are better off post a relationship, post a breakup, seeing how it is that ladies, for the most part, are the ones who get to control whether you get laid or not, or seeing how it is that ladies at the exact same time get to control whether it is that, most more times than not, whether the relationship will continue. I would obviously argue that ladies are the ones who are, in fact, are the actual gatekeepers. Now, what the girl was saying about men having power and men need to have more power, that right there was actually a very, very sensible thing that she said. Don't worry, we will probably explore this in another video. Anything else that she said, of course, was about connection. And this right will be the last part before I get to the very, very next part, which will be the final part of the video, which is much, much more proof of women being gatekeepers. I want to go ahead and say this right now. Connection is ultimately what you need. Sex is great, sex is good, but quite frankly, you can't be going into a relationship thinking about just good old-fashioned sex. If that right there is the case, you're going to be in divorce court so fast it'll make your head spin. You would not believe what the hell happened. If you make a relationship based upon sex and sex alone, next thing you know, infidelity is going to creep in. And as I said to you guys before, women typically tend to be better off when it comes to a divorce than the men do. Do you really and truly want to go into a relationship thinking about nothing but sex? You got to think about where it is that you find the girl at. Church, pumpkin patch things, celebrations, festivals, not bars or whatnot. Chances are, if you find a lady there, chances are you'll probably have a better time actually having a better overall marriage. But then again, at the same time, though, you also have to also think about the actual age. You know, I listened to a couple of these channels talk about, and I've mentioned this right before too. They say, well, his divorce obviously fell apart because he didn't marry a virgin. The guy was 30 years old. He got married to a 25-year-old broad. It's pretty obvious that at 25 years old, she probably had hooked up with somebody or had an ex-boyfriend before. She probably wasn't a virgin when she got with him. A lot of these channels, while they do make some good points, I don't think these guys who actually run some of these lower-level channels have ever actually been in the field or ever even been laid. I just figured I'd go ahead and throw that out there because I hear a lot of the things that they say. And by the way, I did not say this in the previous video, but when I did my video on the red pill, I said that for the most part, most men can actually separate the good from the bad, and I think most of what the red pill community teaches these men is actually good. However, what I did not mention is that you start having conventions and stuff like the 21 Studios or whatever, after a while you begin to wonder if it's not just feminism for men and if it does not end up turning into just creating more let's just say more gay males, which, by the way, once again, I have to kind of chill because that's actually the thing that Candace Owens got suspended off of YouTube for earlier today. Don't worry, she'll be on Twitter just like Tucker Carlson, getting more views. Leads me to an example of a woman actually being a gatekeeper. Now, guys, I'm going to let a whole minute run through. We're going to talk about this, and then we're going to run the actual key thing that was actually said that really made my eyebrow raise. Let's go ahead and watch this.
Connection, they view it as a conquest. You can disagree or agree. I'm making a very generalized statement, but okay. I do feel like, you know, there's this sense of like a man looks at a woman and he just thinks, oh, I want to fuck her so bad. And also adding to Rack's sentiment, you know, maybe she is really hot and maybe she's really like sexy and totally your type, but what if she is so awful for you? What if she's toxic and brings out the worst in you? Also as someone who grew up very plus size and as a fat girl, you know, I have always had to be the one who initiates with men. Men rarely come up to me. On
the surface, you're probably thinking to yourself that the girl in the blue, which by the way, she was trying to butt in the entire time. A lot of things came out about this girl. You would obviously think she's not ugly, she's not bad looking, nothing like that there, but definitely, you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, I probably wouldn't mess around with that. But let me ask you a question, guys. Do you see any men trying to really and truly initiate anything with her? I brought it up in the previous video, and don't worry, like I said, I'll link it in the description box. 5'8", kind of thick. Like I said, nothing. Women, ladies can be thick and be attractive. Although the vast majority of us would much rather have a much more athletic girl, because it seems that they take care of themselves a lot better, myself included. But do you honestly think that maybe this girl is very, very possible that this girl is maybe, I don't know, doing what she just says here?
Because here's the thing, I'm
No,
serious.
the fat
It's like
phobia is
very
real.
true.
It's very real.
Men look at me, they see that I have a tummy. I'm 5'8". I'm a
Okay,
pretty
but
tall
let me ask
woman.
you a question. So, okay, you say that, yet you said you've had nearly 300 sexual partners. You said
Yeah,
290.
for it.
Yeah. But okay, but you need to
But you can't say if you've had that many partners,
Mm-hmm.
290 or whatever. You can't say that you've had a difficult time.
Yes, I can.
Getting laid.
You don't know my life, Brian. I have had
You're
such a
23.
hard.
You're 23.
I'm 21.
Same girl earlier argued that she argued earlier that men were the gatekeepers. Yes, she's 21 years old, and she's already had close to 300 sexual partners. Fascinating logic. And you know what, I tell you right now what's really hilarious about it? I'm playing this right for you guys in the B-roll footage, and the reason why I'm doing that is because the girl with the Raggedy Ann type thing, she basically said that men were the gatekeepers, and she basically said that if you think men are easy, and then the other girl just kind of smiled like, yeah, men are definitely easy. But yet she did a complete 180 going into this actual conversation. Now she's basically saying that she's got to work harder to get laid, and yet she's been laid. She's got 300 some odd different sexual partners. I just find that fascinating how you can sit here and say that men are the gatekeepers when obviously your gate is extremely wide open. Obviously everybody is allowed in. I mean, what's the saying? A master key, but a master key is not necessary if it's a crappy lock. I mean, come on, people. Honey, I don't see how in the world it is. I just don't see how in the world it is that you can say that men are the gatekeepers when you yourself are obviously pretty easy. Now, really quick. I'm going to play this very, very next clip. I played it in the previous video, but I'm going to play it again to kind of help clamp down the point. I understand that there are men out there who want a lady who is, how do I say, maybe a little bit more seasoned in the area, but let me go ahead and tell you guys now that the warning will be on the other side.
It is a myth.
Seems like it's mostly concerned about if women have a higher body count than like if guys.
It sounds like he's just got
That's
a
the double
preference
standard
for
on
girls who have a high body count, and if that's how
He
you, I
wants
wouldn't
a girl with
say
experience, yeah.
I wouldn't say experience. He sounds like he wants to just go hard at the paint. That's what we say in Australia. Yes.
Yeah, well, I guess he's like, maybe he's been with a virgin and,
Yeah.
It's not
Maybe
as
I think, but
you
like if
gotta
you
be
think
a
about
bit
it,
more-
it sounds like he's talking about a one night stand though. He wants to have a girl who can fuck. But it's a bit different if you're looking at a long term partner, because you can.
Go ahead.
I was with a long term partner, you can sort of, she
Figure
becomes
it out.
more experienced sexually, but only with you.
Yes, the body count thing does in fact matter. I mean, I've talked about this, I think, in 2 separate videos, that obviously the body count does in fact matter. Now, like I said, me at 38 years old, single, meet a woman who's roughly right around my age, obviously she's probably going to have one. Okay, like I said before, it all depends. Okay, has she reformed herself? Okay, how young is her? How many partners has she had? If it's been a life of thousands and thousands of bodies, I'm sorry, I can't do it. Or like in the case of this girl that I'm about to show you here, which by the way I've also shown in previous videos, when you're a sex worker, obviously this is going to be a problem.
They met me, which brings it to, if you have a problem with what I do before you meet me, maybe don't get involved with me.
Sure.
I'm very open. I'm a very honest person. You knew what I was doing before you met me. If you don't like it, there's the door. Nobody's making you stay.
I think too, gentlemen love the idea of dating us, and then once we go to do it, then it's not really realistic.
Right. It's almost like fetish.
A fetish.
Like, you're right.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's so hot. I have a girlfriend that does this, that, and the other, and then when they're really at home and I'm like on OnlyFans or on a call with a client or whatever, they're like, no, this is weird. This is weird. You know what I mean? And that, I think it's an insecurity, yes, because you knew where I was coming from, you knew what I was doing, and you weren't okay with it, then you should have made that a point.
Well, I suppose you have a point that, if they knew going in that this is what you do for work, you're a stripper, or you're doing OnlyFans, or you're doing sex work, then I think it's a little bit of a stretch that all of a sudden, a couple weeks or months.
You can't have that attitude and then say that you have to basically accept me for who I am. Okay, you knew who I was before the relationship. Okay, we understand that. But if you actually want somebody to take you serious and be good to you and treat you right and actually be faithful to you, first of all, you got to do the same in turn. I'm pretty sure that no man wants to take you seriously because, as I've said before, kind of like in the case of the girl who looks like Captain America or whatever, nobody's going to take you serious because right now we just, for the most part, view you as good old-fashioned fun time. But when I hear a man completely go off on this like this...
I hear you. Women have overinflated egos after downloading apps. With the advent of social media and dudes sliding into their DMs, they see, wow, I'm really actually a hot girl that's worth this much. You have to look at, are they getting fulfilling relationships?
No.
They're probably just getting smashed and passed. But with that being said, my point still stands, and I stand by it, that if you're a man, you don't have any time to sit around and say, woe is me, pity me, because you're not getting dates because of whatever reason. Like, as a man, you need to go out and fuck the world. Yeah. You need to go out and make yourself the best possible man that you can be from wherever you're starting. And I understand that it's hard, but if you sit around and complain and focus on all the negative reasons why you can't get a date, then you are going to continue to see that show up in your life rather than going into Trader Joe's and looking confused, which is what you should be doing. You should try and improve upon yourself. And my point was simply that as a man, a lot of guys just aren't putting in the work.
I have to agree with this. Not only are the ladies delusional at this moment in time, but ladies are in fact delusional about the fact that, yes, they are the ones who actually control the markets. They are, in fact, the gatekeepers. However, what I would say is this. As a man, what you need to be doing is doing what you're always doing. Go back to work, save your money, work as hard as you can, keep yourself in shape, keep working, keep going to the field, take the good advice, find what works for you. And at some point in time, go to the right places and you will find the right lady who's not a girl who sleeps with men for a living or takes her clothes off for a living at an actual strip club. You're probably saying, what about OnlyFans? Well, as I said in the previous video, I personally would never date an OnlyFans girl, and I would probably look at you if you dated an OnlyFans girl and say that you're about to be used. However, I have also said that if a chick did that many years ago, not sex work, not as in sleeping with people, and she actually reformed her life or whatnot, I could give it a chance. But then again, at the same time, though, if you start speaking like that there, next thing you know, you just might fall into a trap. With that right there being said, guys, make sure you guys hit the like button. Make sure you guys subscribe. Make sure you guys share the video, sign off in the comment section. The last video on this topic will be coming out on Sunday. It's something that I saw, a study that I saw on relationship red flags as far as politics is concerned. Never really done a video on that, but don't worry. I will be, in fact, doing that video, and it will be out on Sunday. Like I said, make sure you guys hit the like button. Please consider subscribing. Also, leave a comment in the comment section. Tell me where I'm wrong, and I'll see you guys later.